So Mark, first I want to just thank you for showing up. I really appreciate that. Um, I'll give you a little background about myself. My name is Greg Wilby. I have a background in real estate. Our company actually is from my father. He started the company back in '94. It's over 30 years old now. So I've taken the company over. He started out really working his full-time job and then doing like fix and flips in the beginning. Then he started acquiring properties. So it was like single family duplex, triplex, quads, things like that. And then what he did is after he passed almost a decade now, I took over from there and I really moved into multifamily stuff and really excited about multifamily. I kind of just really feel like there's much more value that way. And then what I do is a lot of times is connect with other multifamily guys, real estate guys, or even just business owners. Do some like podcasts like this where we just talk about what's going on in the industry, tips and tricks that maybe get helps us to get better, things that are important, nuances that people maybe don't understand about the industry, and just discuss it and enjoying that. So the company I have is Landlord Navigator, which really helps landlords, but the same way, start off with single family or residential assets and moving them into multifamily, and just showing them kind of the landscape of what that looks like and how to handle that forward step. So that's pretty much what my background is and how I reached out to you.
No, I thank you. I appreciate you having me on, Greg, for sure.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what is it? Tell me about you and what you're doing and some background of like some of the exciting stuff you got going on in multifamily.
So just quick background. I'm in Dallas, Texas now, kind of North Dallas. Grew up in Michigan, one of seven kids, have an identical twin brother. And we kind of grew up with, food and shelter and nothing else, right? Really, for the most part. You wanted something, you would go work for it and get it or not. So pretty young age, I was kind of driven about by not being positioned that way financially. And then my twin brother and I, we were seniors in college. We decided to get involved in real estate, and there's really no rhyme or reason other than we both thought it made sense to do it. We didn't have like an uncle or anyone in the family doing it, and we bought a three unit, actually converted it back into a two, rehabbed it. We were the landlords. It was actually horrible for us because we fast forward about a year later, we were both working. We worked for the Big Four, kind of consulting. We were CPAs as well, but we were doing management consulting, IT consulting, and worked, 75 to 100 hours a week consistently. And then we'd go home and shovel snow at 10, 11 o'clock at night and things like that, right? So it was something I'm like, I like real estate, but I don't like what we're doing. And we continued to buy though, so it didn't deter us from buying some other properties. And we bought mostly 2 to 4 units for a while. I got married pretty young and we were buying. And then I had I was doing IT, had an IT company. And then 2013, a friend of mine was doing larger multifamily through syndication, which is fancy word for raising capital together, group buying. And I invested passively in that deal and a couple other deals. And then kind of was like, well, I think I can probably do this too. And we went to an event, actually individually. I went and my wife went separately, and we both like, yeah, let's try to do this. And my work balance, life balance was not very good at all. And so it was causing a little bit of, friction, probably a lot of friction as well, just kind of relationship wise and things like that. So we started buying our on our own, syndicating deals, and we started doing that. And we did about I'm gonna get 1.5 billion in about 10 years or so. And
Wow.
we ended up doing like 18,000 units, 15 states. It sounds great until it's not. So we went fast. We started a group, so we were coaching, mentoring people as well. And things were going good. We were doing a lot of value add properties that needed big capex, and we were turning properties in some cases, less than 2 years and doubling the money and things like that. Fast forward, 2022. Still buying, which we would not have been buying, but still buying 2022 and bought a lot of deals, like 20 deals in that short period of time. A lot of value add floating rate debt where interest rates went from 4.5 to 10, 11, 12%. And so really paused. We haven't bought anything since. Well, we bought one in 2023, but haven't really bought anything since 2022 for the most part, and focused on what we didn't want to focus on, and that was a lot of problems. And that could be related to interest rates, going through the roof, insurance. We had one property, insurance rates were going to 300%. We had one that went from 600,000 when we bought the property, and then 1 year later on the renewal, it went to 3.6 million. So literally had a $3 million, insurance premium increase. And I don't care
Right.
if you're the best operator in the world,
That's
you're
right.
not overcoming that by itself.
That's right.
And there were other things, we had eviction problems and things like that. So, I mean, I'll be focusing on kind of some of the problems, but it's not all gloom and doom. You would ask me a year ago, not in a very good spot, even emotionally and mentally and everything else. I've contended and dealt with lenders calling, cussing me out, selling a bunch of stuff, dumping money into deals to try to save them. In some cases, shouldn't have done it. Frustrated investors, vendors who are not getting paid, lawsuits from vendors, kind of name it. I've done it. We exited 30 deals in 2 years, and a lot of those were not by choice.
Got it.
So I'll kind of pause there and we can get in. There's
Right.
nothing you can ask me where, this, you know, concept that everything is great. People are out there. That's a complete bogus. I don't care who you are. You've been impacted in one way or another, from
Yeah.
the inexperience to the guy who's been doing it 40 years. Everybody has been impacted. That
Everybody.
was, yeah, yeah.
Everybody. And what I love is your story. Sometimes I tell people, sometimes it's, a lot of times it's great when everybody can have this floating, things are always great. But I love talking to people like yourself who have seen all sides of when you see every side of the picture, that to me is like so great because now see, you don't want to go in the trenches with somebody who has no clue what it's been like in the trenches. Like you have no clue so it's good to ask and find out what that's like. I think the first question I wanted to ask you is, this is always a big question of mine, right? My dad, like I said, has been doing it for 30 years and I've been, with him doing it together. But what I always said to my dad, I said, Dad, why did you never scale? Like I always wanted to say, why didn't you kind of move up faster? And he just, and a lot of people, this is why I started this whole company. It was a lot of people are just they're in a comfort zone and they don't want to, it's scary to go up, right? When you talked about 18,000 units and $1 billion in assets, like, what did that look like? And I think I tell people all the time, and I know this is you, Mark. It's a mindset shift, right? I know that probably has a piece of it, but tell me a little bit about like when did you decide, or were you with your wife, and how did you look at it from okay, I have a duplex, I have a quad, okay, I have a 20-unit building. Now let's just go all the way in. Let's double down all the way forward. How did you know? Can you give me a little bit of what your mind was like in it?
For sure. I'm probably not the Tony Robbins motivator guy. Wasn't. I'm a lot more into the mind and how powerful it is the older I've gotten.
Okay.
When I was younger, it was like, frankly, just do it yourself. You're lazy if you're not doing stuff. What's wrong with you? Get off your butt,
Right.
right?
Right.
And looking back at it, there are certain reasons why people do things and don't do things. For me, you have to have a why. The why can't be like, I just want to, buy real estate. I mean,
Right.
okay,
Right.
you're buying real estate for something. And for me, my IT business, I just couldn't shut it off. I mean, any project that I got, I accepted. Most of the people wanted me on the project, along with other people, but they were really engaging me. So I was, all over the place, working, 7 days a week, minimum 80 hours a week, sleep about 3 hours a night, not spending time with my wife. Fortunately, if you want to say, in one respect, I still, manage to spend time with the kids because I was like, they're little, they're only gonna be little so long. Well, you know what? Sometimes your kids are gonna be gone, you'll be with your wife or your spouse. So it caused a lot of problems earlier on for that. And I was kind of like, this is just the way my life is, right? That's what I've been doing for, 20 years. And so I had to really pause and say, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? How can I do something differently? And reality is, even starting out, I was like, if I can generate even half my income and doing by doing multifamily, I'll quit doing IT.
Got it.
And we did it pretty quickly, actually, a lot quicker than probably thought.
Right.
But we were out there. I mean, we were grinding, things like that. We were hustling, going to events, and then, it kind of compounded. We started a group and we started buying deals, together. And we probably raised like $500 million, across that, period of time. But the mindset is very, very important. And again, when you look at things where like a vision board, right? I never did stuff like that. I didn't really do goals. I'm just going to make it happen.
Right.
I think looking back at it, some cases I didn't want to put on paper because I thought maybe I was going to fail.
Right.
And when you look at things and start putting, what's your why? And I just brought this up in to some other guys too. I'm like, well, your vision board, what's on it? And it's usually stuff, house, cars. I like cars, right? All
Yeah.
this stuff, right?
I
Well,
love
how often do you have something on there, whether it's related to fitness, faith, family?
that's right.
Not very common. It's stuff. Well, anything. I don't care what you own. One day can change your life forever, right? Either positive or negative. And that stuff won't become important anymore. I'm not saying, hey, you shouldn't buy stuff and you shouldn't treat yourself to something, but you're going to find out that it's just stuff.
That's right.
And would you rather have memories and building relationships with people and being open and willing to talk to other people that are having problems and going through stuff before I was just too busy? Now I actually pause and I'll talk to people and share things that I've gone through. But you're right. It is a mindset to say, how do I go from 2 unit, 3 unit to a 50 unit or a 100 unit? I will caution people, we were always like bigger the better, right? Well, the bigger the deal, the bigger the problem. So if you have a deal that's, let's just say, a $2 million deal, and you're having a problem on your mortgage because it's, increased rate, okay, that's a bad problem. Try doing it on a 50, $60 million deal and being short, $250,000 a month
Ooh.
on your mortgage, right? As
Wow.
an example.
Yeah.
What would you rather have? Looking back at it, wasn't like these people, including myself, were just bad people. There are people, don't get me wrong. There's some people out there just really bad stuff, and they should get in trouble.
Right.
Like there's no question about it. But we were all just kind of riding the wave. Looking back at it, the lessons I've learned, I really reflect back and say, well, how many of the things we've gone through could have been avoidable? And, reality is a lot of them could have been avoidable. It just meant you go a little slower, you'd be smarter. I mean, I've executed on like 180 plus contracts.
Right.
I'm not an attorney, but I give you a full class about what to do, what to have in a contract, what not. And and not to like bring it up a higher level because I know it's real estate, but higher level I'll bring it up is two main things. People are like, what's the one lesson? It's like, well, okay, I get that. One lesson is great, but if you look at everything as a real estate investor or anyone in business, it comes down to if you say have a problem with a lender, have a problem with a partner, have a problem with an investor or a vendor. In every single case, it's your signature. You signed something. Now you either signed it reading it or not. Because investors do this all the time too. You read it and understood it, or you didn't understand it and didn't ask questions.
Mhm.
And you read it, understood it, but you didn't apply any wisdom to make the right decision. Anyways,
Mhm.
that's the key right there is I could read something about how to do surgery. I would kill somebody trying to do surgery on them. I could even understand it. Take the knife, do this. That doesn't matter anything. I don't have the experience, the wisdom. The wisdom gained, would say, unfortunately, that I have gone through. I wish I wouldn't go through the stuff I did, but I could sit there, curl up in a ball like I was in a fetal position for a year, frankly, because I was just like, I can't, all this stuff going on. Or I can go out there, not because I'm super happy it happened to me or proud it happened to me, but I can see the same things reoccurring right now. People reach out to me on a regular basis. They're making the exact same mistakes that we made, and they're going to be in the exact same trouble that we were in. Now, they might get lucky like we did for 10 years as well. Everyone did for 10 years, right? But it's your signature, right? And that's in any business. And if you look at, okay, the signature, and then, from a personal perspective, the things I mentioned, the stuff you have and all that, where really is your identity? Is it, hey, I'm a father. I
Right.
have a job. doing this. Most guys will get it there. I'm, whatever it is, I work out, I whatever. So maybe someone's really attractive. Well, you know what? Every one of those things can be taken away in a day. I mean, I always go back to the book of Job and,
Right.
you want a bad day?
That's right.
Your
Job.
day is bad?
That's right.
Yeah. When people are like, and I did the same thing. And I talked to a lot of people going through different things and try to help them. But this statement is made by myself and others. Everything is going wrong. And you look at it and reflect, and really, everything. In fact, I just met with a guy on Friday last week, and he said the same thing. And I said, everything? So I said, if you had $50 million right now, would you have those problems? No. I said, okay, you can still walk, you can talk, you can eat, you can see, you have your wife, you have your kids, you have a place to live. And don't get me wrong, I'm not diminishing the stress this has on people. I mean, we have people, in an industry that have had a lot of physical, like lifelong physical impacts because of everything they've gone through. That's bad. I was there. That's bad. So we can come back to that on the real estate side, but it's really having things in place legally that you're okay and you're willing to accept these risks. The problem is most of us didn't understand some of these risks involved.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. And that's the part, like you said, sometimes I was watching like about 5 or 8 years ago, I was watching the YouTube, it was Grant Cardone, and he was talking about how when he goes to do deals, he's like, man, when you're going through all this paperwork, you don't even know. I mean, he says, you're reading so much stuff, you don't know which one from which one. And unfortunately, he says you sign, but he says you really don't even know after you sign how much is in there, how in depth this thing really is. So I
You
just
do
thought,
now.
huh?
I do now.
Right, 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 right.
That's the difference is that, and you're being told by people like, oh, this is just like a non-recourse loan and
Right.
no liability, or you
Yeah,
look,
right.
yeah,
Because
you
that's
want
what
to
I
look
mean.
at things.
Agency
Yeah,
loans, I'm like, oh, great. No. So I'm like, non-recourse. I'm like, yeah, non-recourse. I'm like, okay, great. I mean, I never, like you said, but it's good to speak to someone who's dealt with that and says, no, they told you non-recourse, but you didn't know about this, this, and this. So keep your eye open for that. Um, man, this is rich. This is good stuff. So I think that, so, okay, so I'm going to go back to a few things. One was, tell me a little bit about Think Multifamily. I think that's your organization that you operate now. And then I want to talk a little bit about deal flow, where we are now. That's the problem
sure.
I'm running into in my own like walk. So
Yeah, so we buy deals. We're operators. We're not just like, theory. Bought in a lot of different states. We educational aspect of it, helping people buy, raise capital, things like that. Paused for 2 years, frankly, full time dealing with problems. That's it, just problems. Re-engaged, just probably that's how you probably I think you reached out to me on LinkedIn, but it's just like re-engaged probably a couple months ago. And again, not because I'm like super happy. I'm like, you know what, people, I see this whole thing starting over again. I see all this, I'm gonna frankly say BS on LinkedIn from people that don't even have a clue what they're talking about. They went to chat to get some sort of write-up. They don't have the experience or giving, in some cases, bad advice, misinformation. So I'm like, you know what? And some people probably don't like me. I'm nice about it. I'm commenting on people's posts, like I'd probably add this. They don't know what they're talking about. There are
that's
very few people, even people who've been doing it for years, really know what they're talking about. So I'm kind of on a new mission, if you want to say, to educate people. One, so if they're already in distress, you have three main options. You can save the deal, sell it, or surrender. And each one have consequences, some cases from a physical, mental standpoint, anxiety, certainly from a financial standpoint. What do you do? Should you sign a pre-negotiation agreement with a lender or not? We're doing a loan modification. Should you do it or not? You cannot use information in the future to make a decision today. We did that. Survive the 2025, persist to
right.
2026.
Right. Survive in 2025.
Yeah, yeah. Let's make up some other, and people are like, this is what the experts are saying. Well, they don't have a clue. They're wrong.
That's right.
So you have to use information today. It's very, very tough. You feel like a complete failure.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like, and that's what I was going to talk about deal flow, because I love the fact that you said, because I don't know if you want to tell me how much you have under management now, but what I think is interesting is that you went right to 22, 23, and then just stopped. Because I find that myself where, the market, of course, it was hot, going into COVID and all these things were happening and the price of money was cheap. Now these deals just look so weird. And then you have these like smaller operators selling them and they're like, I just think it's what it's worth. But I'm like, yeah, but the numbers don't back out. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way when you're looking at the interest rates. It just doesn't. I can't make anything off of that. Are people just buying it just to hold it as like another account where you're not really even making any money and just hoping appreciation later on down the road? Or is there like real deals coming in where you're getting some cash flow for this stuff?
Yeah. No, I mean, we bought a lot of deals that were appreciation, right? They were 0% occupied, 30, 50%. Those are not going to cash flow, right? Not for any time soon, a couple of years at least, right? The deal flow, I think there are a few things, right? You have deals that are out there, like you said, they're out there, but they make no sense, right? They don't cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow from day one, I don't consider it anymore.
Right.
If it doesn't qualify for long-term fixed debt, I don't consider it anymore. That's going to back your criteria right into like, okay, if the county, not the state, the county acted horrible during COVID and post-COVID, I don't buy there anymore. So you get really smart about, location. If a lender is an operator, meaning they own properties or they sell their loan off, I don't want to use them anymore.
Oh,
We have
okay.
calls with lenders that are no joke will say, we're operators too. We'll fix it. We'll just foreclose. Versus a lender that says, hey, we don't want the property. Let's work something out.
Okay. Mark, you don't, I tell people sometimes, and so this goes back to your initial, if you listen to the narrative of what your conversation was about, I mean, other people look at it and say, wow, look at what he's amassed and what he's done. And, it's amazing. But you really kind of stood right on the chord of relationships and value the people around you, not necessarily the possessions. I think that's really important because I tell people a lot of times it's the relationships you get in business and really what you learn is what makes the journey so great. What you're saying right there, which I think was really good, is just now when you just touched on something that was really good. You just said
A
that
lender or
yet the
no?
lender.
Operator.
I went through a deal. It was one of my biggest deals for me, and it was $1 million deal, and it was in the heart of COVID. I got one payment. I just instead of, I rolled into the next month and paid at the top of the next month. They went immediately into this high interest rate. They hit me with
Oh,
a 20
default interest.
default interest, 23%, and wouldn't let me out of it for almost a year. I had to sell property. It was a bunch of stuff that I did to keep it alive.
Yeah.
And I noticed that every negotiation I did, every time I reached out, every attorney I used to talk to them, it was almost like they were focused on getting the property back because they had so much equity in it. You get what I mean? Like you said, that
You,
they
yeah.
wanted
You
to
need,
operate it. They wanted to
yeah.
operate it. They didn't want to give it back to me. They wanted to take it for their own. And
Oh,
when you said that, it now made sense. I was wondering why would they fight so hard to keep me at this default rate, and instead of just trying to negotiate with me? Because I'm like I was good for 6 years. What are we?
yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 for sure. It's the
That
equity,
teaches a
equity
lot
strip.
that you said you don't deal with lenders who are operators. That piece right there is sharp because it says a lot. If your lender's operator, what do you think they want to do with your property?
Yeah. This concept that your lender is your friend.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to dog all lenders, but there are, I would say a lot, not like, hey, it's one or two, a
Right.
lot of
Okay.
very, in my opinion, unethical lenders.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And But you need knowing up front, saying, "Hey, I won't. This is the type of lender I'm going to do business with or not, right?" And carve outs in there. I'm going to like strip these carve outs out or mitigate. Some carve outs. A lender can sue you. Let's say you have $10 million loan.
Right.
You pay your mortgage every month, never miss a mortgage point payment. But you trip some sort of carve out that's like some sort of bogus carve out, right? In loan documents. Lenders don't have to have damages. They can sue you for the full loan amount with no damages.
Wow.
So knowing type of deals you want with cash flowing, right, is very important. Knowing which locations you want to buy and which ones behaved good and which ones didn't, those type of things. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, there are so many other aspects of it. You have the lending side, obviously. You have, partnerships that you mentioned as well. Now, I'll make a statement. People might be like, hey, you're kind of being cynical, Mark. Absolutely do not trust any partner you ever have on paper. Don't. Okay, so people people will do business either some cases with no agreement at all. Like I have a friend that had a multi-million dollar business with his brother-in-law, no agreement at all, zero. They got in a dispute. He had to buy his brother-in-law out. His wife and her sister haven't talked for 2 years. I have a partner that forged my signature and sold the property without my knowledge.
Wow.
So here's the thing about it. If you're married, typically people go into marriage for, I'm gonna be married for 50 years, 40, 50, 60 years, whatever the number is, right? And I'm pretty sure you have a pretty high level of trust. But anyone listening to this have been, you've broken someone else's trust before. I have, you have, and someone else has broken your trust.
Right.
It's somebody you love, you've been, known for years. So why would you be so naive to think that a partner,
That's right.
you need to assume every single thing will go horribly wrong. You never want a 50-50 partner that
That's
doesn't have a tiebreaker, meaning
yep.
you and I have an agreement and you want to sell and I don't, we have a tiebreaker. I mean, this happens all the time where partners,
Got
you
it.
know, you can't decide.
That's right.
Your agreements need to be very, very clear you can't have vague stuff in any contract where it's like major decisions. What's a major decision?
Right.
Or whatever is reasonable. Do you mean to tell me that you're a seller, I'm a buyer, and we're going to come to terms with what we think is reasonable
Yeah,
or customary?
that's right.
Or two words in a contract that cost me personally $371,000. My partner signed an agreement. We had an LLC together. They didn't even sign the contract.
Wow.
So many things around partnerships. If you don't know the term joint and several, all it means is you are 100% liable for your partner, whether you participated or not. And if you're the money guy, who do you think the lender's going to come after? They're coming after you.
Yeah.
So there's so many things around that, and like I said, location, taxes. Probably don't want to get into, but the whole
Please.
understanding around taxes and what does it really mean from like having, you know, an investor's like, well, how do I pay taxes? It's like, dude, you like one deal, you got all your money back on a refi, you got distributions, we sold it for a profit, and now you're sending a nasty email saying you owe $45,000 in taxes, and it's like my fault, my partner's fault for not educating him how taxes work. Well, don't get me wrong, I've been surprised to the tune of, millions, unfortunately, as well. And I have a CPA background, things like that. But most people and most CPAs don't understand how taxes work in real estate.
Right.
That's very important. And then, the whole thing around just like you said, what type of deals you're looking at. So the best deals in my mind right now are, if you get a deal from a lender, may or may not work. Just don't know. I mean, some of these deals, some parts of the country, like in some areas we bought were 2022 to 2024. One city we bought in, cap rate went from 4.4 to 7.5 in 2 years. 41% decrease in value.
Wow.
You can't sell the property for your loan.
That's right.
And a lot of these deals are still down to that. So you can argue, hey, there's discounted deals. And there will be deals out there. I personally think some of the best investments right now, even like what I would look at, would be the deals that are on bridge loan today,
Yep.
and they qualify for Fannie or Freddie, and they're moving from a 10% interest rate to a sub 5% interest rate, fixed. You don't have the variable, what the rate's going to do. Long term, you pick what's long term. I would probably not less than 7 years. And the unknowns are known. If you or I buy a new property, we think we know because might even own in the market. We go there and go, man, for some reason, we're not getting the rent bumps we want. Or, oh my gosh, there's more. You could do all the due diligence you want. You buy a 1960s property, you're going to have plumbing issues, maybe
Right.
electrical.
That's
You're
right.
going to have all these unknowns.
Right.
So if you own a deal for 2 years and you come to me and say, hey, I'm doing a refi, but the values are down so much. We need whatever, $1 million to do the refinance and to fix. A new investor comes in. I mean, you have to ignore the current investors. You're not being mean about it. I'm a new investor. I don't care really, not to be mean. I don't care about the other investors. I'm a new investor. You come in, you sit priority right below senior debt, high return, hurdle, maybe share in the profits. If you do simple math on this and say, let's say a property was even down, 20, 30%, which a lot of properties are right now. And then you get a new loan today at 65%. Your loan amount is literally 50% of what someone paid for it, 2, 3 years ago. So you're sitting in there, maybe you bring a million in and there's another $3, $4 million of equity sitting there.
Right.
Now, is it risk free? No. Is it 100% protected? No. But I'd much rather go in a deal like that knowing there's already in today's bad market,
Yes.
there's already a $3, $4 million upside on $1 million investment, and I sit in front of everybody, all the other investors. Those are the best deals you can get right now.
Nice. Nice. So Mark, I'm not gonna take too much time. I'm gonna probably come around the corner here, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about, if you could tell me a little bit about kind of what people need to know about what you're doing now, maybe how they can get involved or how they can connect with you. And
Yeah.
then after that, is there any other tips or ideas or anything else that you want to be known or that's important that you want people to understand either about you, your business, or just the industry in general?
So the first question around kind of what we're doing now, I get called almost daily right now from distress people, and I'm talking people I can rattle off names. Everybody probably listen to podcasts would know. And these people have been in the business and they're real big and everything, and they have no clue what they're doing. If you don't know what you're doing in this, I mean, am I happy I went through 30 deals in 2 years? No, I'm not. Do I have a lot of, you can't go through that and not have a lot of knowledge,
Yes.
just reality and what I would do differently, right? So I'm doing a lot. I'm putting a course together around distress.
Mhm.
And it's not just like, oh, it's only relevant if somebody has a deal in trouble. No, it's relevant for anyone who wants to get into business because it's going to be prevention
Yes.
of
Yes.
getting into distress.
Oh, yeah.
And this isn't like theory. It's like, here's a signature, my like really, here's where my partner forged my signature. Here's a default from a lender. It's not like pie in the sky. It's real.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have a lot of real stories, you know. Um, and as far as real overall lessons, I mean, just to summarize, be very cautious as your lender, right? Operator, do they sell their loan off because that ties their hands on what they can and can't do. And if you say I want to get, fixed agency debt, that's going to control a lot of that. It just
Yes.
is. That can control the type of deals you buy, typically less risk, less even liability from a personal standpoint. Taxes, you need to understand taxes. You don't have to be a CPA, but you better understand, especially as a GP. If you don't understand what a negative capital account means or net operating losses, and not to be whatever 1231, 1250, 1245, you're like, I don't know any of those things. Well, you know what? You better find out someone that does because you're going to have major surprises potentially in the back end.
Okay.
You can put a investment in a deal, lose all your money, and still owe taxes. Like
That's
that's a
right.
legit real scenario.
That's right.
And then the other one, we talked about partnerships, being really, really careful on partnerships, and then cash flowing deals and things like that. So higher level, which I already just summarized, be careful what you sign. Make sure you read it, understand it, ask questions, and never sign it if you're not okay with the risk involved in it. There's risk in everything. You're never going to eliminate risk. If you want to go sit and do nothing, you can maybe eliminate some of your risk. But the reality is you're going to have to accept some level of risk. Some risk can be eliminated completely. I eliminated my rate risk because I have of course, when you sell it, there's a different story. But I eliminated my risk variable, my interest rate for 10 years. Okay, I eliminated it. And then some things you can mitigate, right? So you want to eliminate risk when you can, mitigate it when you can't. Um, you know, just as an example, it's irrelevant directly to real estate, but when I used to do IT, it used to be, and it's way different probably now. This is an old figure, right? But for every dollar of development, because it cost me $1 to develop this piece of code. If I go to production and people start using it, I have to fix that piece of code. It's $100. So $1 to do it right the first time, $100 to fix it on the backside. That's just financial. Forget about the stress, anxiety, and everything else that comes along with it, right? So signature is one thing, and then really not trying to overemphasize, but I'm going to figure out your why, but also figure out your identity. If it is tied up, I've had multiple people that have told me my identity was in everything I did in real estate. I'm lost. I don't know where my identity is anymore. That's a problem. Now, for me, what got me through a lot of this, and whether you're religious or not, or Christian or not, for me, it was through having people with Jesus, but having people in my life surrounding me,
That's right.
an awesome wife, awesome kids.
That's right.
I actually had to leave Texas and have to. My wife basically forced me to, no joke, for I went for like 2 months to Michigan and spent time with my family because I was in such a bad spot.
Right.
I had my sisters praying for me, my mom praying for me. If you don't have that, I sincerely don't know how people get through it. And I'm not sure I would have. And I'm not trying to over dramatize what I was going through, but You think about going through having, 30 deals in trouble, draining, selling everything you have to put money into deals, lenders cussing you out, frustrated investors. You're not talking like the tune of like 10, $20,000. You're talking to multi millions of dollars. Uh, it can have an impact on you. And unfortunately, that one impact on your life will impact, if you allow it, it will impact every other area of your life in a negative way.
Yes.
That's where the term everything is going wrong. Yeah, everything's going wrong because you're allowing that one major, don't get me wrong, it's not a small thing. You're allowing that one area of your life control every other area of your life, and in some cases, ruining every area of your life. So it's I don't know, dude. I'm super excited now, and it might sound like it, but I am for the first time in a couple of years
Mm,
where I'm like, you know what? Things are starting to look pretty good now. A lot of the signs.
mm,
I'm a way smarter now. It doesn't mean I'm smarter than somebody else. Someone else can be way smarter than me. I can tell you with the mistakes I made and the wisdom I've gained, I know more than most people, out there, even people really, really experienced. And I'm willing to share it. And I also will lay out like, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Here are the pros and cons to it, and here are the consequences to each of the decisions you make. These decisions aren't like willy-nilly decisions. They're life-changing. Again, the stress, anxiety, and in cases, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars decisions. One wrong decision. I can give you example after example of people I've talked to where if you want to save them, really one phone call, I'm not exaggerating, save them like, $670,000, $430,000, $2.5 million just by giving advice of like, okay, yep, I've been there, I've done that. Here's what you need to do. You don't have to listen to me. You don't even have to take my advice if you want to. Guaranteed, a year from now, if you don't take my advice, you're going to come back to me and go, I wish I would have told, I wish I would have taken your advice.
Well, Mark, I thank you so much for your time. This is an amazing podcast, very rich, great knowledge, great information. At any point, I want people to keep an eye out for Think Multifamily. Mark is an amazing gentleman. It definitely can give you information and direction on which way you want to go. With Landlord Navigator, if there's any questions or concerns, thank you for coming on, Mark. Hopefully, maybe in the future, we could do another one and maybe work on a specific topic or what the climate looks like in the next 6 months. But if
For
you
sure. And if people want, they can go to thinkmultifamily.com. We have a lot of free content, but that would be the first. There's a distress 10 lessons learned during distress. And that's kind of a basic one. Then it gets progressively to where like, oh my gosh, the next one. And then I actually have now because it's a rah-rah, I wrote like an over 200-page book, 50 lessons learned, during this downturn. And again, it's real stories, not made up. And, how to navigate some of those things, what I do differently. So, but start by going to the website, and again, it's kind of a summary of lessons, and then progressively you'll get more content as time goes on with more and more lessons learned.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Good talking to you, Greg.
Yes, sir. Take care.
You too.